Hi, my name is Rachel Paxton, and today I'm going to show you how to can tomatoes. What will you get out of this class? You'll learn how to can tomatoes. I will lead you through the process step by step. I'll give you the recipe and the canning supply list that you can download and print for future reference. You'll find those in your course materials, and you can also gain the confidence you need to try more canning recipes on your own. Who am I? My name is Rachel Paxton, and I'm a freelance writer and the mom of 5 children ages 28 to 6. This is me and my husband Dave. We've been married for 20 years, and these are 3 of our kids. Christian and Zachary are twins, and they're almost 11, and Trenton is 6. We also have 2 daughters that are 28 and 26. I've been canning for more than 20 years, and I'm also the owner of the website creativehomemaking.com. This recipe is really simple. All you need is some tomatoes and some bottled lemon juice. I'm not giving you a specific measurement on these because it just will depend on how many tomatoes you have. You're also going to need a boiling water canner, a canning rack if you're going to use your own stock pot, a jar lifter, a wide mouth funnel, and pint or half pint canning jars. This is what a boiling water canner looks like. If you don't already have one, you can buy a whole kit for about $32 on Amazon. I have included a list of the supplies in your course materials, so you can click on the link in that if you need to see which ones that I recommend that you get off of Amazon. $32 is a really good deal for the whole kit. It comes with everything you need to get started canning. You can also can with a large stock pot of your own. If you do decide to do that, you need to have a canning rack like this one in the bottom of the pot so that the jars don't sit directly on the bottom of the pot. This comes with the boiling water canner I just showed you, but you can also buy these separately for about $10, and then you can use your own pot. Just keep in mind that your pot needs to be tall enough that you can put an inch of water above your jars when they're in the water. This is what a jar lifter looks like. It comes with the kit, and the wide mouth funnel also comes with the kit. These are really nice. These are made for canning jars so that they'll sit nicely in the jars while you're filling them. The first thing you need to do is fill the canner about 3/4 full with water and let it start boiling while you're doing the other things. I sterilize my jars and rings and lids in the dishwasher. You can always also do it in boiling water, but it's easier to do it in the dishwasher, and then they're already hot and clean when you're ready to use them. If you are reusing jars, you need to buy new lids. It's okay to reuse rings and jars, but you always need to use a new lid when you're canning. Like I said, for this recipe, I'm not giving you a specific amount of ingredients because it depends on how many tomatoes you have. I used Roma tomatoes for this recipe, and I would say I put about 4 or 5 tomatoes in a 1 pint jar. So it's not crucial to know exactly how many jars you need, but 4 or 5 tomatoes is a good guess for figuring out how many jars that you need to sterilize ahead of time. And you can use any kind of tomatoes to can. Roma tomatoes are good to can because they're not as juicy as some of the other varieties, so they hold up better in the canning process, but you can use other kinds. And this is my trick for easily peeling tomatoes. You don't want to can them with the peels on, so to easily peel them, you want to take a pan of water and get it boiling on the stove and just place your whole tomatoes in the boiling water for about 1 minute, and then you take them out and quickly put them in a bowl of ice water, and in just a few seconds the peels will slide off just like in this picture. And this also works for peaches when you're trying to peel peaches. Next, you're going to place a tablespoon of lemon juice in each pint jar, or 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in a quart jar. I did pint jars, so I put a tablespoon in each jar. And then you want to chop the tomatoes in about 4 pieces. You just want to make sure you cut the top off where the stem was on it, and then the rest of it I just cut up in about 4 pieces and fill the jars. After you've filled the jars, you want to fill the rest of the jar with boiling hot water, leaving about a 1/2 inch headspace. Head space is the amount of space between the top of the tomatoes, or in this case the water, because the water will be above the tomatoes. So the space between the hot water and the top of the jar. This head space is important because when you process your jars, your mixture inside the jars will expand slightly, and if there's not enough head space, your jars can explode, and you don't want that to happen. So each recipe requires different amount of head space. So for this recipe, you need 1/2 inch. Next, you want to wipe the rims of the jars with a damp paper towel or dish towel to make sure that there's no tomato seeds or anything on top of the jar that will keep your jars from sealing. And place your rings and lids on the jars. You want to put them on tight, but just finger tight. They don't need to be super tight. Next, you want to use your jar lifter to put your jars in the canner and make sure that the hot water is 1 inch above the jars. You need to add some water if there's not enough water. You want to process the jars for 40 minutes for pints or 45 minutes for quarts. If your water is not already boiling when you put the jars in the pan, that's okay, but don't start timing until the water starts actually boiling. And this processing time is for elevations 1,000 feet and below. So if you live above 1,000 feet in elevation, you will need a slightly longer processing time to get it up to the right temperature. So if that's the case, there's an altitude adjustment chart that's included with your course material, so just refer to that if you need to change the processing time. But if you're below 1,000 feet in elevation, these are the correct processing times. After the jars are done processing, use a jar lifter or tongs to remove the jars from the canner and set them on a towel on the kitchen counter to cool. Let your jars sit on the counter till they cool. Within the first half an hour or so, you should hear the jar seal. They'll make a pinging noise. Sometimes they actually seal in the canner. So after a couple hours, you'll know if the jars have sealed or not, and you can tell if they're sealed by pushing down with your finger in the middle of the lid, and if it pushes down and pops back up again, that means that the jar is not sealed and that cannot be stored. If you do have a jar that doesn't seal, just put it in the refrigerator and it can be used within a week or two. The ones that do seal, you can store in a dark, cool area for 1 to 2 years or more. And that's it. Canning tomatoes is really easy. When you have extra tomatoes in the summertime, this is an easy way to store them away for winter time and doesn't fill up your freezer. So give it a try and let me know what you think. And I'll see you again next time.